Hey y'all, I'm Laura Richardson with Relevate. We're Real Estate Elevated and we're bringing you another episode of I'm Moving to North Carolina, Now What? We're going to talk about a hot topic today, and that is interest rates. So at what point do interest rates start to affect the market? Now, I want to go ahead and give a disclaimer and let you know that when we're talking about interest rates, there's a couple things that we can and can't say, and also what relation to what market are we talking about. So you always want to make sure you talk to your lender to get accurate, up-to-date information on your interest rate. So keep in mind your credit score directly impacts that interest rate. So when we're talking about what interest rate everybody's discussing, it still may not be the interest rate for you. Also, you're going to see a variation between different types of loan products and different types of lenders. So keep in mind everything is a little subjective, but there's like a normal range that we kind of refer to for the current market. So speaking of the market, all of the conversation we're having today is in relation to the current market we're in. So here in February 2024, the day that this is being recorded, as well as the previous markets we've been in since 2020. So let's go ahead and dive in. So when people think low interest rates, they typically are talking about their relation to the COVID market. So in 2021, we saw a spike in the transient nature of folks. A lot of people were not having to go to a brick and mortar office space, so it kind of impacted the housing market as a collective whole. There was a lot more buying and selling going on. However, the other thing that kind of helped just spurn the flames a little bit more was interest rates. Interest rates had been at between 5 and 6% prior to that market, and then they slowly started to drop into the 4s, then into the 3s, and then some people, which they've locked in and still have today, are in those upper 2 range. So clearly when we're comparing that market to this one, interest rates do seem like they've kind of gone up a little bit. So low interest rates, that's typically what you're referring to when you say low. You're talking about that particular type of market. Then in about 2022, right around March to May, we slowly start to see that rise of the interest rate. So a big thing that happened in our market at that time was it kind of put buyers on their heels. Now, why? Well, there were some other extraneous factors going on in regards to how our market was allowed to market listings, how it affected days on market and things like that. But one of the big things with interest rates is you think about your purchasing power. So not only were we in kind of a heavy market with the exchange of buying and selling, but you also got into a little bit of a quagmire where your buyers started to slip backwards in purchasing power. So what really got hit was between that 550 to 750 range, meaning you had homes that typically were your 4-bedroom, 3-bath kind of scenario. And all of a sudden, the folks who were trying to buy a home of that range were getting thrown down 100 to 200 grand in their purchasing power because of that interest rate. And now they were being put into a predominantly 3-bedroom, 2-bath scenario. So folks who had outgrown the home size could no longer afford the home of the choice size, and instead were having to kind of compete amongst other people that weren't actually buyer pool competition just a few months prior. So keep in mind those interest rates are going to affect that range of purchase. This is also why, just kind of a disclaimer here, it's really important for you to find out your purchasing power before you even begin your search, because that interest rate is going to kind of take that range up and down accordingly. So now we get into the current market we're in, where it's still a strong market. We're still in a seller's market. Yes, there are some homes that maybe have a higher day on market range, but part of that comes from buyer psychology and buyer mentality. Coming out of the COVID market, buyers are a little scarred in the fact that they had to make snap decisions very quickly. They were buying homes sight unseen and not really getting a whole lot of say in the process. And so now they like to take their time. Buyers are trying to go back for a second, maybe even a third showing. They really want to marinate on the information, and part of that comes from higher interest rates. I don't necessarily want to call them high interest rates because, guys, let's be honest, if you're talking to people of different generations, their opinion about is this actually a high market rate or not, it's going to vary. So for our younger generations, they might say that, oh, this feels super substantial because all they've known in their adult lifetime are those lower interest rates. However, if you talk to folks that are much older, they remember a time where 18% was the interest rate to buy a house. So just keep in mind that there's a little give and take in the conversation depending on who your audience is. But in regards to the current interest rates, one of the best tips I can give to folks who are looking to buy or potentially buy and sell in our upcoming spring market is the fact that you need to be prepared for if interest rates drop at all. So today there's currently sitting at whatever the rate is. Okay, I'm not going to give specific numbers because of TRID and some other rules that we have that are outside my lane, right? Because I'm not a lender. Let's just say interest rates are here, so X number. If they slowly start to decline, you're going to have buyers in one of two ways come off the sidelines. You have the folks who this was uncomfortable, so as it starts to slide, they're then going to jump into the pool because now it seems like this interest rate, whatever they've got in their head, is now doable. Then you've also got the portion of the market where they have a certain size home or certain type of home they've been looking to buy. The current interest rate doesn't work for them, but as it slowly starts to decline, their purchasing power goes up where that home, that dream opportunity is now doable. So we are going to see an increase in competition. And here's where it gets really tricky, where interest rates do control the market in some capacity. The more buyers we have, especially in a low inventory market, the more competitive it's going to be on the listing side. So for sellers who are thinking about selling anytime in the near future, this is my advice to you. You need to get prepared now. As we see more buyers enter the market, the inventory is going to slowly start to decrease, which we're at a low inventory still now, which is why it is a seller's market. So it is really important, not just on the buy side, but on the listing side, that you're staying in the know when it comes to interest rates. Because like I said at the start of this video, those interest rates are going to affect the market, whether it's perception, comfortability, or actual purchasing power. So if you have more questions in regards to your interest rate or potentially how that's going to affect you, we have some great lending partners that we can introduce you to. But as always, stay in the know on what's going on in your market. And part of that is by like, share, and follow this podcast, this episode of our YouTube channel, and stay in the know and we can have those conversations. I'm Laura Richardson with Relevate. We're Real Estate Elevated, and we'll see you next time.